Hey, welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. All right, we got Bitcoin on the 4 hour, and essentially we got that breakout, consolidation, continuation. So far, you can see how the parabolic trend lines and the channel that we were previously operating in before we went into that descending consolidation, you see how that has remained relevant. We got that initial pop up here to the bottom yellow trend line, and then as soon as we broke through that, you see we came up to the yellow one, consolidated, broke through, retest, consolidation. We're breaking through, and then we're finding support, breaking through, finding support, breaking through, finding support. That's constructive movement. That's what we want to see. I don't want to see just big candles up and then we just hang out. You want to see it try to sell off and then someone buy it back up, so then it leaves the wick behind, and then you see that. So now look, this channel right now, we're right back here at the heart line of it, and we're consolidating on top of it. And now here we are attempting to break out to the upside, and on shorter time frames we're making like basically another flag pattern. So each time we break out, consolidate outside of the top of the flag, like the little diagonal right here, and then break out to the upside, we're just going to continue testing the top of the range each time. And just like we don't try to call like the exact bottoms and try to long the exact bottom, you don't want to try to call the exact top and try to short the exact top, because when momentum gets behind it, especially when the fundamentals are as strong as they are right now, that's when you get moves like this happen. I was cautious down and took profits too early, and I don't regret it, because I mean, obviously I would rather make more than less, but you can never go wrong with locking in profits, and I think that's very important. And that's why I think like trailing stop loss really is a more intelligible way to cover your position, or cover your butt in case the position turns against you. But in some cases, it's nice to just lock it in and be done with it. So, but here we have now consolidation on top of this range, and I noticed something actually earlier when I was looking at this. We basically have this yellow line is like an old school trend line. It's very important. Okay, and then we have this channel where we're operating inside it, this white channel. And then I had drawn in at one point in time like an alternative yellow line down here at the bottom, and then we broke through, retested, broke through, retested, and this is like clearly has like a substantial interaction. So as soon as I started doing that, I just basically was looking at, what if this was pivoted? What if this channel gets pivoted now and comes down here, and then the channel is on, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, but essentially, like, I'm just making a point that if the channel actually is corresponding better, or corresponding like more with that point, and then essentially we got like the breakthrough here, came back down, retested the heart line. I mean, that's basically right where it would be. Retested the heart line. Now we're moving back up, but that's going to be the top of the range right there in white. Now again, we could get like essentially like a candle close as high as the white right there, but then we could get the wick up outside of it, up to the yellow. But you see I don't have a ton of lines on my chart that are relevant at this time. Like once we broke through in this area and started moving up in here. So the reason being that there's just not a lot of relevant resistance and support in this area right here. We basically broke through key resistance and support zones, and we're consolidating above them. We're very close to getting essentially what I would consider to be like a long-term breakout continuation. We just have to be careful, because what we were speaking about essentially, what we were speaking about before is, this is our high, and then we come down, put in a low, put in a higher low, put in a lower low. So the last point we put in was this lower low right here. We can literally come all the way back up to this high right here. We can come all the way back up to 14,000 and get a lower close, and then come back down, and we did not violate anything, because we just have our high, then we have our low, then we have our lower high, then we could just put in a lower low or a higher low. And we're either way, we haven't validated any form of like the trend or anything. But what we were looking at before is basically like this giant cone that we're forming right here. And now we've basically broken out of that descending line. So the measure move for that would be like, it'd be a huge measure move, potentially back up to like all-time highs. But if you break it down now from that point in time, and instead of looking at like this broadening wedge, descending broadening wedge essentially that was forming right here, instead of looking at this descending broadening wedge that's forming right here and looking at that as potentially breaking to the upside, you look at like the opposite pattern, like this tightening range right here, and then breaking to the downside, descending triangle. So in the same way that this is a bearish pattern and we would expect a measure move break to the downside, this is a bullish accumulation pattern and we would expect a measure move to the upside. And again, that's going to take us potentially somewhere back in like the 16,000 range if we did get that measure move. And the truth is these are going to be our key resistance points. We're looking for essentially where our close is today, because right now we got our daily close basically at 11,090. So that 11,090 corresponds with like key resistances over here. So now the only real resistances that we have left as far as horizontals are up here at like 12.2. So if we get a move up in this range, that 12.2 range, we could bump our heads on that horizontal, or else it's pretty much just the 786 at that point in time. And then where it's 100% retrace of the all-time high, the $20,000 high, and we're just right back at it. So we are basically at key diagonal resistances right now as far as this channel. But you see, as soon as we broke back inside this channel and consolidated, it was game on. We just broke to the upside. And now here, I'm going to move this back right here and see how it corresponded with the breakout again. Yes, you could put it either way how you like it, realistically, but the fact of the matter is it's clearly showing up as relevant. So, and then here we are at the top of the range. We're in the distribution zone, but again, you can enter the distribution zone and then continue like for a whole nother like big move up after that. We're also essentially getting now like the yellow is at the top of the range. So we would essentially expect at least some form of consolidation similar to this, where we would essentially like go sideways or start selling off, come back down and find support on the other one. So as the bottom one is coming up, we find support like that, and then we can get that other move up, put in divergence, and then you usually get like the sell off and change in trend potentially. But at this point in time, we're still in that same trending range area move. And essentially what that comes down to is, we had put in like a bottom point over here, and then we've been operating on top of that. I didn't mean to hit an alert there. And then same with the top, we've been basically operating inside of this range right here. So what we would expect to happen is this to continue oscillating as we continue up, and then finally once this maxes out, we'll get like the measure move sell off from that range back down to like a central region, and then that's basically just the oscillators resetting. But we did talk a little bit about TD sequential also being a 9. So essentially like 1 to 4 days of consolidation before continuation, or potentially like the end of a trend. So we want to keep our eyes on that as well. But as far as I'm concerned right now, this looks legitimate. We're getting like nice volume on top of it. We basically sold off and then came down here and then found support. So now we left the wick on the top, left the wick on the bottom, consolidating this range, and it looks like we're getting ready to move back to the upside. The key areas that I would pay attention to right now as far as diagonals are like this 11.3, the 11.7, and then our horizontal coming in at 12,000. And then if we start getting continuation, consolidation, above that area, I mean, the sky really is the limit. And although the oscillators and indicators are getting like pretty high, we're getting to the areas where we would expect like a sell-off. Is you can get to a massive area like this and then get a sell-off, and what is it really? It's just like consolidation, moves back up, and then continuation. So that's why I say the oscillators a lot of times just need to like reset basically and just cool back off. But the price itself doesn't need to just like start dumping. So but at this point in time, I mean, this was a healthy correction that got bought back up, and now here we are consolidating. So I would like to see where this moves next, but I have a feeling we're going to end up somewhere higher in this range right here. But at some point in time, any point in time, we are at the top of the range. We're at the top of the resistance once again, and we haven't actually changed around the trend yet. Now that doesn't mean that we're not right about to. I mean, gold basically to the US dollar just flipped around its trend officially to 100% bullish and took out its all-time high. Like that's like basically the final step for like a confirmed uptrend. And again, based on fundamentals, they're printing all this money and there's getting ready to be like another $1+ trillion coming into the markets. That's going to just pump up the value or price, I should say, of all these hard assets. And something like Bitcoin fundamentally, looks great. And I mean, even all the other junk that there's like unlimited supplies of is still going to pump just because people are looking for places to put their money. And as we start to see like the cycles change and the money cycling from like Bitcoin to or alts to Bitcoin, or like stock market to crypto, or housing market to stock market, whatever the changes are that's going on, we're going to see like these random just like bursts. And that's what we had been talking about with the Bitcoin dominance leading up to it. And that's why it was so important is we were at that key level on the Bitcoin dominance. It looked like we got basically a false breakout. All the alts started running, and then bam, there was Bitcoin. And it gets back that dominance, and now I just expect it to climb. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin has to just keep pumping to the moon right now. It means that it's going to be going up faster than the alts are. So it's accumulated. It's like getting more of the money into it. Or essentially, if it started selling off, it would be selling off slower. So either one, it's just holding its value or gaining value better than the alts are. It's gaining market capitalization and dominance. So there you have it, guys. Crypto Trend Trader with a quick update on Bitcoin, and I'm out of here.